The good that comes out of comparison with bad is still the bad in disguise. Let's break this down and unpack its full philosophical, psychological, and practical implications through 7 steps. 1. Understanding the core idea. When we call something good only because it is less bad than something worse, we are not necessarily affirming its inherent goodness. We are relativizing evil. It's not good in the moral or ideal sense. It's just less evil or less harmful, a disguised form of the same problem. This statement warns us against moral relativism. The idea that as long as something is better than the worst option, it's acceptable, or even praiseworthy. 2. Psychological trap, the normalization of harm. Human psychology tends to anchor comparisons. If you're exposed to something horrific, say cruelty, corruption, oppression, then something mildly harmful can start to feel good by contrast. This is called the contrast effect. A toxic boss might seem not that bad compared to an abusive one. A government with moderate censorship may feel free compared to a dictatorship. But in truth, the underlying dysfunction still exists. It's just dressed in softer language or delivered more subtly. 3. Political example, the lesser evil fallacy. In politics, voters often say, "Well, I voted for them because they're better than the other guy." This is not an endorsement of merit. It's a strategic compromise with badness. The danger is, over time, we keep lowering the bar. Our definition of acceptable shrinks until deeply unethical behavior becomes normal, just because it's not the worst thing imaginable. This is how democracies decay gradually, not through coups, but through a long, incremental tolerance of slightly less awful behavior. 4. Philosophical echoes, Nietzsche, Arendt, and Machiavelli. Nietzsche warned, "Beware that, when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster." Even resistance to evil can mutate into another form of it if you're not rooted in real principles, not just contrast. Hannah Arendt's idea of the banality of evil shows how ordinary people normalize evil by comparing it to worse forms. "I was just doing my job" is not goodness, it's compliance cloaked in moderation. Machiavelli noted that rulers often justify minor oppression by referencing past tyrannies. This illusion of moderation becomes a shield against accountability. 5. Ethics, relative good versus true good. There is a major difference between good that is good on its own terms, rooted in compassion, justice, truth, and courage. Good that's not as bad as the bad, a comparative position, not an ethical one. The latter is passive morality. It avoids doing harm not out of principle, but out of strategic calibration. This kind of goodness will always shift if the benchmark of evil shifts. 6. Real-world analogy, toxic relationships. Imagine someone says, "My partner yells at me, but at least they don't hit me like my ex did." That's not love. That's not healing. That's abuse in disguise, surviving only because it's relatively less traumatic. And yet, this is how many people remain trapped, because comparison distorts clarity. 7. Why this idea matters. This insight forces us to ask a hard question. Are we calling something good just because it's better than something worse, or because it is actually good by a universal standard? It teaches us to raise our standards, to seek excellence, not just survival, to avoid becoming morally complacent in a world where evil comes in many disguises, including the disguise of better than before. The good that comes out of comparison with bad is still the bad in disguise. It reminds us, don't settle for less evil. Demand real good. Anything else is a clever version of the same corruption, and your conscience deserves better than compromise dressed as wisdom.